Okay, I'm Charles Williams. Welcome to my collection of antique creations. You're in the little village of Grand Bay-Westfield, New Brunswick, and I build stuff that goes back 1800s. Some of it is lost technology, but welcome to my creations. We'll go inside. Now, as you can see, I have quite a collection of stuff here. We'll start here with this mill. It's a water-powered sawmill, one that I come up with really of my own ideas, and it's gear-powered, and it has a water wheel on the back side of it. Most sawmills have overshot, which the water goes over and turns the wheel that way, or it's built in a brook and it's called an undershot. So I come up with a design of my own, which is an overshot, and the water falls down into this chute, which gives half the wheel full of water all the time, which gives you more torque and more horsepower. This building here is the Welpley Skate Factory that existed in 1850s up on Route 102 in Jones's Creek. They built skates there, and the world famous long reacher. It's all shingled, and I built a little tool for making shingles. There's approximately 5,000 shingles on it. Inside is some Welpley skates, originals. This one was built for children or teenagers. This was built for speed. The holes in it, when you were making sharp turns, the snow and ice would come through those holes and they wouldn't trip the skater. Inside there's a steam engine so that it would run in the slack time when there was little water to run it. They'd run it by steam. Mr. Welpley is buried in the United Burial Ground in Browns Flats. If you wanted to visit the grave site, it's the tallest stone there, over close to the bank, a good view of the St. John River. Now this mill here is one that's it's twin steam engine, and it has a saw blade, one above the other, for sawing large diameter logs, and it all works. Got a little squeaky in her here, but we'll have to get the millwright to put some oil on her. It's steam powered, and if you look at the back, these mills were nicknamed gunshot mills. They had a steam cylinder that ran the carriage. The carriage goes back and forth, and it saws logs. There's the two saw blades there. And the sawyer could bring the carriage back so fast, they nicknamed it a gunshot mill. And they squared big timbers and then shipped them overseas by wood boat to be manufactured resawed into lumber in England. Again, you can see the many shingles on the roof. These engines created terrific power. That engine would only be approximately 150 horsepower at 500 RPMs. So you could understand the torque that would be in that. Now this mill is one that you would see up in King's Landing above Fredericton. It's a vertical mill. It runs by the blade going up and down. I guess I've got it locked. I keep it locked because little fingers sometimes get in it. This mill goes, you can see the blade. I'll try to turn it so my arm doesn't get in the way. The blade goes up and down. And all this mechanism here forwards and reverses the carriage. I keep it locked out of gear. Once again, if somebody doesn't know how this thing's work, they could do it damage. I used, if you look at some of the gearing, I built a wheel. This mechanism forward and reverses the carriage. There's a stairway and a walkway upstairs. They could go up in times of train, when the train would be pulling away with lumber, the sparks would set fire to the mill, and they would have a walkway up here with barrels on it, and they'd dump water all over the mill so it wouldn't burn. There's one of the gears that I built. I used the same technology my grandfather taught me on how to build a wagon wheel and how to place the spokes. So that's how I came up with the same idea. I don't have any engineering degrees. I barely made it through grade 8, and they asked me not to come back in grade 9. So that's part of that technology. In these days, people built stuff. They didn't have white hats and high education. And this now is something that I just completed. It's a D8 Caterpillar bulldozer, a Craig float, an autocar truck. The hood comes off, you can see the motor in there, and the suspension all works, and the steering mechanism all works. The doors open, you can see the interior. The rear suspension, it all works individually like it would on the real float. If you take a real close look at the hubs, that's what would have been on a trailer in those days. And the D8 is equipped with a ripper for ripping rock, stuff like this. It all works, right? The blade works, the rig goes up and down on it, and the tracks all oscillate, and the pads work. The rollers work. Everything would work on this if you want to get on your hands and knees and push it on the floor. Now over here we have a Case steam tractor. This is in the Smithsonian Institute in Wisconsin. This tractor set the world's record for plowing an acre in 250 feet, 51 bottom plows. Again, another very powerful machine, one cylinder, steam cylinder, and it had a series of gears on it here for the forward and reverse it, puts it in and out of gear, and this mechanism over here, this runs it back and forth. This puts the wheel in for thrashing oats and that kind of stuff. We burnt firewood or coal or in the thing. These would be for coal or firewood. And if they ran out, they'd burn straw. And it had a water tank on the bottom to pump water up into the tank on the engine to keep it full of steam. This tractor in real life is very big. If you see the pictures on your computer, a man standing alongside of it, his shoulder comes to the center of the axle. The boiler door opens. You can see the boiler tubes and clean out in there. And it has the Case logo on the front that I whittled out just to make it more authentic. And this machine is a Lombard steam tractor. It was used for hauling logs out of the woods. And they still have them for show in Maine. There's a museum there. They restored some of these things. And it has a sled on the front for using in the wintertime. Very dangerous in the summertime for forest fires. The driver that steered it, he sat out here, and he turned the steering wheel by steering. And you have once again, you can open this door to get into the boiler tubes. It would burn I believe the thing that was in 3.5 miles, it would burn 1 cord of wood. So it would keep the poor fireman quite busy. It had steel tracks, and according to some records, it would haul 400-ton of logs, which would be equivalent to 6 to 8 tractor trailer loads that you see going down our highway. This thing would haul those in one load on a bunch of bobsleds. They were big logs at that time. Very dangerous thing to run in the winter. It would slide off the trails if you didn't careful. They had to be very careful with them. And it had a set of wheels that you could put on it in the summertime to move it around for maintenance, stuff like that. But I just built that for show purposes. And there's a picture there of the real thing, and that's with the summer wheels on it. It was built by Lombard in Waterville, Maine. He got some of the parts, I believe, from a steam engine manufacturer down in the States. Wood is a hard thing to work with because moisture, it keeps changing and stuff binds on it. And one day you can have it working good and the next day it won't. Atmosphere just changes all the tolerances on it. This tractor has an individual drive chain that drives the tracks, and a steam engine, twin steam engine. They could slow one engine down and speed the other up to help the man that was steering to go around turns. It was a twin cylinder. So that's just about all the collection that I have of some of the stuff I built. If you wanted to take a look at some of my houses that I built, this is just a little cabin that you might see on the lake, a log cabin that they'd hunt and fishing. And this is a little house that my wife and I had to dream of building one time, so I just built a model of it. And if you look inside, you'll see all the furniture. And it would have been a nice little house. If you lift this section out, it has a bedroom downstairs, another bathroom, and a deck on the back. This is a typical setup in a piece of a hollow log. This is a steam mill with the logs and the water, of course. This is water powered rather, and the brook would run here, and this is some of the logs, and there was the shack that the men lived in when they were working in the mill. They slept in one end and they dined in the other. Okay, this is a typical layout, built in another piece of a hollow log of the Lombard tractor coming out. This would be summertime use with wheels on it, as you can see. And there's a sawmill. This would give you an idea of what went on back in those days. They hauled some big logs, and these trails were built on relatively level ground, so it'd be a lot easier to haul. They followed streams and stuff and tried to stay away from hills. It was quite a piece of machinery in this day. They would bring in one load of logs and drop it, take a load of empty wagons back, drop them in the woods, pick up a load there and bring them back. So therefore the machine never stopped. It just kept on going. According to records, it was very high maintenance and very heavy to work with. If you got the thing stuck, it was a big job to get it out. I just want to show you probably just about one of the smallest dining room chairs that you'll see. It has the little table in here, and this is some of the wood turnings that I do, something to occupy. This is called a lantern. You can put a electric candle down in there and put the cover on, and it's just a nice little ornament. Welcome to my humble man cave, I guess you'd have to call it. This is where I make a lot of dust and build stuff. It isn't fancy, and it doesn't have a whole lot of fancy equipment in it. Right now I'm working on a Manafor crane. This will be a crane that'll have a boom on it, approximately that high, maybe a little longer. This would be in real life a very big crane, one track per load on a tractor trailer, and of course it swings. This will be some of the winch mechanism that you see here, and this is a mount for the gantry crane on that part right there. These things, it'll slide out or narrow in for different operations. The tracks slide back and forth, and it was made to dismantle and haul to different locations. So you'd take the tracks off it, you'd set the bed on a float, and hope you didn't get caught for overweight, and down the road you go. These tracks in real life would be 33 feet long, 4 feet wide. A very big machine in its day. So this is just about where I work. She's very rustic, but I spent a lot of time in here. And as you can see, it gets pretty dusty. I sawed these pieces all out and have barbecue skewers through here for wooden pins, and then copper pipe for the bushings. And that's the drive chain for the Manafor. And the pads on that, the tracks on that, are all individual pieces. They'll only go together one way, like that. You can't put that together this way. It won't line up. It has to go one way. It took me a little while to figure out how they built that. And then I had to drill. This is just a practice run, but I drilled a piece of wood first, a hole through here, and I used barbecue skewers. These are made out of bamboo. They're very strong. And I can drill that and then put that through for a pin, a short pin there and a short pin there. And then it all goes together. That's how it works. Took me 4 weeks just to build the tracks for that. There she is, 1962 Triumph Herald, 1300 cc engine, and it's a coupe. That's a very rare little car. This car I carried in here in pieces, and the body is made of 3 different cars. This piece came off of a coupe model, and I had to take the convertible panel off to get this work, to make that top fasten on. And this side over here was cut off another wreck because this one was damaged so bad. It took me 2 years. I had to build a frame, a complete frame for it. It's got a tilt hood. There's the whole 9 yards right there. Believe it or not, you can get parts for this out of England from a company called Rimmer Brothers. They'll send you anything that you want for this car is still available. As a matter of fact, some of the people in England are still using them as daily drivers.